What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and yes, I promise this is the last time I reuse this footage. I'm going to play some more stuff later today, and I will record it so I can stop reusing this footage like I've done for the last 3 videos. Anyway, more importantly, we all remember a few weeks ago when Square Enix first teased that they may or may not be doing something with Seiken Densetsu 3 on the Nintendo Switch. And then they came out a day or two later and announced the collection, which would have all 3 games, more commonly known as, say, Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and what is Secret of Mana 2, on the Nintendo Switch. And of course, the internet exploded. Now, as you know, if you've kept up with this channel, Secret of Mana is my favourite game ever, of all time, number 1, can not debate that, and nothing will ever change that in any way, shape or form. And the sequel, which never made it outside of Japan and does not have an official English translation, is also an excellent game. It's one of the top 5 games I've ever played. It's easily in the 2 to 5 bracket. As I've mentioned before, my top game is obviously Secret of Mana. Top 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all so close. I cannot pick like which is number 2, which is number 3, which is number 4, but they're all so close. And that game is in there. So the big question was, when the internet exploded at first, was, is this finally going to be translated officially from Square Enix? Because there are ROM hacks, well, we call them ROM hacks, but there are fan-translated ROMs of this game available. I personally have a repro card of the actual fan-translated ROM, which works on my Super Nintendo, which I absolutely love. And that, you know, the whole announcement of the actual collection, which will launch on June 1st, by the way, 2017, of course. And don't forget, the Switch is region free, but it will obviously only have Japanese text. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So the big thing is that everyone outside of Japan went crazy. They started doing all sorts of things. They were tweeting everybody. I know, hell, I tweeted Square Enix myself, looking to try get this translated and try get it released outside of Japan with an official English translation of the 3rd game, as everyone else did as well. So a little bit of time passed. I won't say the excitement cooled down a little bit, because it's still there. You can go to any of these articles that have been out in the last 2 or 3 weeks, whenever the announcement actually was, and you can look at the amount of comments on almost any of these websites, and the amount of comments in these particular threads on this particular topic usually exceed every other topic, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2. It beats like almost every other game and every other news article and every other everything, except for 1 or 2, as I said, but you get the idea. This is how badly people want this outside of Japan. So it turns out the company who is actually doing the ports is a Japanese development company called M2. Now, chances are, when I said that name, your eyes and your ears and whatever, you just probably perked up. For the simple reason is, chances are, if you're familiar with the whole Nintendo, not just Nintendo, but mostly Nintendo, as well as, say, some of the other consoles of the last 2 or 3 generations, with their retro ports and virtual consoles and digital downloads and Xbox Live Arcades and whatever you want to call them, M2 works on a lot of porting from old retro consoles into digital working formats on modern consoles. They did a bunch of stuff on the Xbox 360, they've done a bunch of stuff on the PS3, they've done a bunch of stuff on tons of things throughout the ages. Arcade, there's some PlayStation in there, there's Dreamcast, but the big thing that most people know them for are some of their work on the Xbox 360, and of course, basically the entire Sega 3D collection on the Nintendo 3DS. And if you've played those games, you know they're excellent versions with loads packed of extra features. You can even go as far as changing the actual sound synthesizer chip, or the sound emulation chip, I should say, because of the slight variance in original Mega Drive versus Mega Drive 2 sound, because the Mega Drive 2 had a slightly inferior sound chip, so the sound was slightly different versus the Mega Drive 1. And you can actually, because they've included it in those versions of the games, they've really went above and beyond, and you can see it in the quality of their ports and the special features they add in, all the extras and things like that. So, a bit more about M2 than you needed to know. The big thing to take from it at least is they're a quality porting company for retro games to modern platforms. Now, having said that, that sounds like I'm about to say something negative. I'm not, trust me. So, because of everything we just know, once it was found out that M2 were handling the ports, what happened was naturally a bunch of people tweeted them to try get it out, try get some. It's like, hey, add in an English translation, this, that, and the other. They actually responded to it, and the news is semi-promising. Now, I say semi-promising, okay, because realistically, you'll see, okay. So as you can see right here, anyway, they basically said the English version of SD3. Well, let me start that one again because I won't call it broken English, but it's just punctuation. The English version of SD3, if a translation exists, Square Enix would have it, not us. If not, I don't think it's impossible to make one, but we haven't looked into it. If you really want an English version, I think the best chance would be to show Square Enix your enthusiasm. So, there you have it. Coming directly from the porting company themselves. I realize that it could just be saying it to get off their backs or whatever. They suggest that we all tweet Square Enix and let them know how badly we want this in English outside of Japan for the first time ever on the Nintendo Switch. I know I do. That I'm sure, and if you're watching this video, I'm sure you do too, because this is the kind of thing you're into, or it's the kind of game you want, or maybe you have experience with it, whatever. So the big thing is, I'm going to have a link in the description below to the main Square Enix Twitter. There's obviously like Square Enix North America, Square Enix Europe. Feel free to add those in as well, based on whatever region. But the big thing is, I want you guys to tweet at the main Square Enix account, which I will have linked, as I said, in the description below, and you let them know your enthusiasm for getting this collection translated, all 3 games, outside of Japan, on the Nintendo Switch, hopefully in 2017. Let's get it released in America, physically, if possible, digitally if, worst comes to worst. Let's get it released in Europe, again, physically if possible, digitally if not, whatever. Let's do it. Spread the word. You don't have to share my video. I don't care about that. You can if you want. I don't mind. But, if you don't and you just share the message to people you know on forums that are into this kind of thing, that, people on Twitter that you may know, or, in other comment sections, whatever it is, tweet Square Enix and let them know how badly we want this amazing game. One of the best games ever made, in my opinion. How badly the English-speaking audience and English-reading audience wants this game. So that's it. Let me know your experience with the game, your enthusiasm for actually bringing it to the translated form. I know I'm personally going to import a Japanese version just because I can play Secret of Mana 2 with my eyes closed, let alone in a different language. Wait, let me try that again. I was meant to say Seiken Densetsu 2, which would be Secret of Mana. So I can play Secret of Mana with my eyes closed with different languages, like no big deal. I can play through like 1.5 of the, well, there's 6 stories in Secret of Mana 2, so I can play through like 2.25, 2.5 maybe stories in Secret of Mana 2 without the English translation, but I would really much prefer the English translation. And an official English translation, as well as the amount of other people that would finally get to experience this game having a proper English translation, because some people don't like to use ROMs, some people just don't know about them, whatever. The fact is that you could open it up to a newer market as well, and I think I said it in my previous video, I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm sure translating a game nowadays, at least an older game, it can't be that big of a deal. I could be wrong, I don't know, but we'll see how it goes anyway. So let Square Enix know all that. I know I'm going to do it again periodically just because, well, it's what I do, I really want this thing. But let me know in the comment section below how badly you want it, how much you're going to fight for it. who do you know, I hit my pop filter, who do you know that really wants this game as well, and what are you guys going to do for it to actually try get this released? Anyway, let me know all that in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, you can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the rest of the videos in my channel while I go and record something new, because this footage is getting old at this point.